Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another Marvel Legendary video. This one's going to be a little kind of extra video, not a playthrough, just my top 10, what I think are the top 10 hardest villains, or I'm sorry, masterminds for solo play. So, I did a top 10 like my favorite heroes before, so I'm going to do another top 10. And these are the ones I think are probably the hardest when it comes to playing advanced solo, given the way advanced solo works. Sorry about this like reflection thing here, it's just always going to be a thing. There are some pretty obvious ones in here, some not surprises, but you know, I'll go through my list and then you guys can tell me what you think. If you think it is, you think there's somebody I missed, you think there's somebody I should have swapped out, you know, etc. So let's just kind of jump into it with the first one, and pretty obvious one here being Galactus. You saw my last video, it took me out pretty quickly. So Galactus, let's see if I can get this to focus here. It did for a second. Alright, he's got Cosmic Threat. So Cosmic Threat means he gets -3 for any number of a single one of those colors that you have for one fight. His heralds are one fight, but they die after that. So you can't. So basically, like, if I have 3 red heroes and I play them, then he gets -3 3 times, so he'll be 11 attack. If I have like 3 red heroes and 2 blue heroes, I have to choose one of those colors. I can't do both. Yeah, so what makes him challenging is his Master Strike. It's destroy the city space closest to Galactus, any villains in their escape, and then put that Master Strike, there, and then Galactus wins when the city is destroyed. So not only do you have to worry about the scheme, you have to worry about the mastermind. He's found in that Fantastic Four set, so I'll try to go over, if I remember, to go over all of the sets these masterminds come in. We can go over his tactics too, just in case you didn't know what they were. So the first tactic is you just choose one of the colors. Each player reveals a number of the any number of those cards of that class, and they get that many bystanders. So it's a positive tactic ability. Let's see. This one is each player KOs all heroes from this discarded pile with the same color as the hero in the HQ. That can be pretty rough. That can be pretty difficult, especially. Well, it kind of depends. If you're playing and you want like a single color so you can try to take him out, that could be easy to avoid maybe, but it can still be hard. Just getting rid of stuff is hard, especially when you're able to attack him. If you're getting rid of stuff, you probably need that stuff. So let's see. The third one is choose one of the classes. Each player reveals any number of cards in that class and draws as many, so it's another positive ability. And then when you draw a new hand in your turn, draw 6 extra cards and discard 6. So that's kind of cool because you have to choose the 6 that you want. So overall, his tactics aren't really detrimental. I don't feel like the earlier masterminds, like earlier in the expansion list, like the most masterminds had as much negative impacted. I feel like they're a lot more negatively impactful on you now than they were back then. But yeah, he's pretty self-evident of why he's one of the hardest to play solo, especially when it comes to advanced solo, because you're playing cards again. You're playing Master Strikes the second. You're playing another card after a Master Strike when you find a Master Strike, as can be told in the video that I uploaded last week. Number 2, and these aren't in any particular order, by the way. Number 2, another pretty obvious one, Thanos, just for the sheer fact that he's 24 attack. So he always leads the Infinity Gems. Thanos gets -2 for each Infinity Gem card controlled by any player. Now this. So if you're playing advanced solo, then if you don't use the Infinity Gems, whatever villain group you're using is the one that is going to count for that. What makes that challenging in particular is if you're playing a setup and the villain group is, say, like Murder World, where it's mostly traps, or so they're not villains, or like Manhattan 1610, I think that's the name of that group, or Poisons or whatever, where most of the heroes are cards you get, like you recruit them after defeating them. So they're not going in your victory pile. So he's going to not really drop down and attack. 24 is pretty rough. I mean, it's really, really rough. His, let me get this to focus here. His Master Strike ability is each player reveals their hand and puts one of their non-gray heroes next to Thanos in a bound souls pile. Yeah, it's really rough. And his tactics, I believe, are pretty hard. This, and he's found in the Guardians of the Galaxy small box set. So the first tactic is going to be, let's see if I can get to focus here. Each other player discards an Infinity Gem card they control. So if you're using Infinity Gems, that's really its relevant. There's no really other relevance to that card outside of using Infinity Gems. Fight, let's see. This will focus. So each other player reveals their hand and gains a wound for each card that that player has with the same card as any card in Thanos' Balanced Souls pile. So that can just be rough because you're gaining wounds, and wounds are just a pain. Fight, each other player reveals their hand and discards all cards with the same name. Another thing, just losing cards is a pain. And then fight, gain a hero from Balanced Souls pile, then each other player puts a non-great hero from the discard pile. So you can potentially swap out a bad card or a not as useful card for a good one. So yeah, his cards are kind of, they're okay. The tactics are okay. They're not the best to deal with, but they're not necessarily the worst. So another fairly obvious one is going to be Dark Phoenix, and she's found in the X-Men. I would argue she's probably the hardest Mastermind. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. They both can be pretty difficult. Well, no, I think she might still be the hardest, especially her epic form. Her epic form, I think, is maybe hands down the hardest Mastermind in the entire game. So let's see, Dark Phoenix here. Get us to focus here. So she's an X-Men, the big box. She always leads Hellfire Club. Her Master Strike is KO the top card of the hero deck. If I can get this to focus here. KO the top card of the hero deck. Then in each other card in the hero deck that shares a color with it, shuffle the hero deck. And then Dark Phoenix wins when the hero deck is empty. So obviously that's extremely problematic. At least with Galactus, you're forced to go through all 5 strikes before losing. If you do not have 5 colors, you will lose before all 5 strikes are out. And any multicolored cards or split cards go away too if there's different colors and it's one of the 2 colors. So it's extremely detrimental to have a Master Strike go off. I've only beaten her once in Advanced Solo, and that's because I used Happy Hogan, so I basically cheated because I just skipped Master Strikes with Happy Hogan's one of his cards. So here are her tactics. Let's see, Dark Phoenix. Let me get this to come over here. Gain a hero from the KO pile that costs 7 or more. Well, that's nice. Let's see. Each other player discards each card from their hand that has the same name as any card in the KO pile. Chances are you're probably gonna have to discard it. So that's really rough. Each other player gains 2 0-cost cards from the KO pile. That really sucks. That really sucks. And it says 2 0-cost cards. So if there are wounds in there and that's all you can get, that's all you can get. And then finally, each other player chooses a card from their discard pile that costs 1 or more and KOs it. So all those are really bad. And even the one that gets you a hero that costs 7 or more, that's like really unlikely because you're only going to have 3 cards potentially out of your whole hero deck, out of the whole hero deck that could potentially get that, you know, because you only have the 3 rares. So yeah, she sucks. Oh, let's look at her. Let's look at her epic side. The epic side, so she's 15 attack instead, and then her Master Strike is KO the top card of the hero deck, and each player and each card in the hero deck that shares a color with it, shuffle the hero deck, so it's the same as the other one. Then each player plays a Hellfire Club Hellfire Club card from the Vulture pile. Next, play a random horror. So basically, I think this is literally impossible to beat Advanced Solo. Like, I don't think there's a way to beat this Advanced Solo. Or if there is, you have to really cheese it, like with Spider Heroes, and like use, I don't know, investigate on Spider-Man Noir and push the Master Strikes to the bottom or whatever. Because dealing with this and then a horror, and you could potentially get the horrors that give her boosted attack. I mean, this is, yeah, she's, I think, truly impossible, especially on the epic side, to beat Advanced Solo. Another obvious choice is Apocalypse. So Apocalypse, he comes from Dark City. He's not the strongest on this list, but his always leads group gets +2, so it's the Horseman. But if you're not using the Horseman, it's whatever he's using. And then if one of each of his villains escapes, he automatically wins. Which, so again, it's another like win condition for the Mastermind. So it's just an extra thing you have to deal with. Master Strike, each player reveals their hand and puts all their heroes that are cost 1 or more on top of their deck. That's really why he's on this list, because that basically in advanced solo, like you lose your turn, and so you just, and it's not like you have a lot of cards to, it's not like there's a lot of cards in the villain deck to kind of deal with that. So a Master Strike comes up and you lose, like your turn is basically over. Unless it's early game and like you're just recruiting stuff, but if it's like mid to late game, your turn, like you lose a turn, you basically, and it's like I said, like you have on average, you know, there's most schemes are eight cards or 8 twists, so 8 twists, 5 strikes, 3 henchmen, 1 bystander, and 8 villains. So what is that? 16, 17, 22, 25-ish cards. So like a 20% of those cards, you're losing a turn having to play another card from the villain deck. So it's actually, it's really, really bad. He's really tough. So his tactics are, if this is not the final tactic, rescue 6 bystanders and shuffle this back into the other tactics. I've lost games, right, that have come down to the wire because I've had to hit him an extra, like, there's 2 tactics left and I pull the wrong one and shuffle it back in. The next one I pull 2 tactics and pull this one, and like I've lost games because of this tactic. It's so hard. Let's see if I can get this stuff focused. I always have trouble with this focusing. Okay, each of the player reveals the top 3 cards of the deck, KOs one of those cards that cost 1 or more, and puts the rest back in any order. That sucks. I mean, KOing cards that are 1 or more always sucks. Unless it's like a card that you don't want to use, like a recruit card or something, or like if you get a Maria Hill early on and you don't want it later, that's kind of an easy way to get rid of it. Each of the player KOs 2 heroes from this card probably costs 1 or more. Again, that sucks. And then each of the player plays a 4 horseman villain from the river pile as the player from the villain deck. So he's rough. Those tactics are hard. His Master Strike is really hard. That's what makes him hard. Like, he's 12 attack. It's not that big a deal. Given his villains +2 is a bit problematic, but where it really comes in is that Master Strike. That Master Strike is very, very difficult to deal with. So yeah, so maybe we're gonna get to a point where it's maybe not as obvious ones, but this one's pretty obvious to me still, which is Onslaught, also from the X-Men set. Man, X-Men came with a lot of hard Masterminds. Onslaught's big deal is his passive ability. That's just each player's hand size is 1 less. That really sucks, especially when you look at it in terms of like, oh well, I mean like turn 3, like you're already having to, like you have 2 shield cards there. I don't know. It just seems like it's, well, maybe it would be technically less to shuffle in because you're, I don't know. It's just a hard card to deal with because you're only drawing 5 cards. So he always leads Dark Descendants, and then his Master Strike is KO heroes dominated by Onslaught. Then each other player reveals their hand and chooses one of their non-gray heroes. Onslaught dominates those heroes. So in that respect, you're only really having to, from the Master Strike, adding 1 card to him at most. Now I think his tactics may change that, but so he'll be 11 most of the time, or when it's dealing with the Master Strike. But what sucks is if you're forced to get dominated one of your cards, and then the Master Strike happens and it KOs a good card of yours. That sucks. Before we get to the tactics, let's look at the epic side. The epic side is very difficult. So he's 12. Everybody's hand size is +1. And then he KOs all heroes dominated by Onslaught. Then each player reveals their hands and choose 2 of their non-gray heroes. Onslaught dominates those heroes. Then play a random horror. Yeah, that is very hard. The horrors are not very kind to you. So it's pretty obvious, but oh, excuse me. The horrors are very difficult. So let's take a look at the tactics here. Onslaught dominates all 5 heroes from the HQ, so he's automatically 15. Great. Each other player reveals the top 6 cards of their deck and chooses X-Men hero revealed this way. Onslaught dominates those heroes, put the rest back in random order. That's so-so. If you don't use any X-Men heroes, that's probably okay. Even 1. And then it says put the rest back in any order. Yeah, I mean, that's not too terrible. You can kind of force certain things, I guess. I mean, I guess the 6 cards are going to be your next hand, so I guess it really wouldn't matter. Maybe that's why they chose 6. Fight Onslaught dominates 4 0-cost heroes from the KO pile. The next player that fights Onslaught KOs those 4 cost heroes. So that's great, because in that way you don't have to deal with it. But it sucks because it makes them 14 automatically. And then fight revealed the top 3 cards of the hero deck. Onslaught dominates all X-Men and Brotherhood heroes you reveal, put the rest back in any order. That's not nearly as bad. It makes them 13. I find that this tactic that dominates the HQ, especially because if the HQ has multiple great uncommons and rares, you're gonna lose all of them but one when you fight him next. And he's 15, so he's just a hurdle to get over. So let's go on to the other X-Men mastermind I have on this list, which is Deathbird. Deathbird, man, Deathbird is really hard. Deathbird is really hard just because of her abilities. So her passive ability. So let me see if I can get this to focus here. Okay, so Deathbird gets +1 for each Shi'ar villain in the city and escape pile. And then she always leads Shi'ar Imperial Guard and Shi'ar Henchman group. So those are whatever whatever villain group you're using and whatever henchman group you're using, she gets +1. And then the Master Strikes are, if there's a Shi'ar and if there's already any Shi'ar villains in the city, each player gains a wound. Then the strike enters the city as a Shi'ar battle cruiser with 7 attack and is worth 5 victory points. So strikes become these things. So it's 7 attack, it's not easy to get rid of, and it's a Shi'ar villain. So she's stronger. There is a epic side. So the epic side, she gets +2 for each Shi'ar, and she becomes 10 attack, so that's very awful. Same thing with the Always Falls. And if there's any Shi'ar villains in the city, play a random horror. Then the strike enters the city as a Shi'ar battlecruiser worth 9 attack. So you're more likely, this is out here, she's already stronger, 14, 16 attack possibly, and then you have to play a horror on top of that. And there's no way you're killing these things very easily. They're 9. They're as much as some Masterminds. And to make matters worse, her tactics, so all of them are fight, rescue 4 bystanders. This tactic enters the city as a villain whose only ability is, and then those change. So this one's, each player discards 2 cards, becomes a scheme twist that takes effect immediately. Each player gains a wound, and shuffle this back into the Deathbird Mastermind tactics as another tactic. So those are the escape abilities. The thing is they all are Shi'ar Elite Bodyguard, Shi'ar Hover Tank Battalion, Shi'ar Master Spies, Shi'ar Extermination Legion. If I understand this correctly, they are Shi'ar villains. So not only you have to deal with the normal villain group, the henchman group, the Master Strikes, her tactics are villains that boost her attack. I mean, what the heck do you even do? This is another one that I think the epic side is completely impossible to do. Completely impossible to do advanced solo. There's no way, unless you cheese it. But even cheesing it, I think you have to play a scheme that's going to have a bunch of cards in the villain deck. You're going to play spider heroes. I mean, that's basically the only way to get around it. Okay, so next we have Shikla, Demon Bride. Now, she may not be the hardest, and I've beaten her advanced solo, but she's hard advanced solo because of the fact that Master Strike Scheme Twist pretty much comprise 40% of the villain deck, 45, 50%. They comprise so much of the villain deck that she becomes very difficult to deal with. So she's from Secret Wars Volume 2. She's 9 attack. Let's get this to focus here. So she always leads Monster Metropolis. The Master Strike is revealed at the top of the cards of the villain deck. Put all Scheme Twists you revealed on top of the villain deck. Put the rest back on the bottom of the villain deck. So that's straight in random order. So that straight up makes it difficult because all her cards are Fateful Resurrection. Now Fateful Resurrection is you reveal the top card of the villain deck. If the Scheme Twist or Master Strike, then the card comes back. That's the case with villains. But in this, well no, she just resurrects. Yeah, so then she goes back. She goes back as one of the tactics. If she resurrects, draw 2 cards. So she goes back and then you draw 2 cards. Favorite Resurrection, she resurrects, defeat any villain in the city for free. So that makes that really hard because then she goes back and you have to fight them again. Faithful Resurrection, if she resurrects, rescue 4 bystanders. And then the only thing, one of her tactics is Deadpool. So Shikla's husband, Deadpool. So you gain him as a hero and then you get +1 for each odd number. So that's okay. So it's 3 tactics you really have to deal with. But it's hard because if they resurrect, they go back and then, I think that's right. I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. The villain, if they come back, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Otherwise, if it resurrects, why would you get a bonus and then you still take the tactic? So I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. If wrong, my bad. But I'm 98% sure that's right. Okay, next we have Charles Xavier, Professor of Crime. This is from the Noir set. Charles Xavier gets +1 for each bystander in the HQ and city, and then he always leads X-Men Noir. And then Master Strike has 4 heroes in the HQ capture hidden witnesses. And the hidden witnesses are face down bystanders that you have to pay 2 recruit to get rid of. What makes this challenging is that will accrue very quickly with Master Strikes. It could, a couple turns in, Master Strike, boom, that's +8 on him. And yes, paying 2 isn't a big deal, but especially early game, you are basically wasting your turns paying off you're paying off the hidden witnesses. So that's not only to mention any other cards like his villain group that takes hidden witnesses, or any of the villains that do human shields, because those all count too. So he's very hard in that regard. I may have beaten him a few times. I can't remember. I've always had struggle. I struggle beating him as advanced solo, just because it can get out of hand really, really quickly. So let's see his tactics. The first one is fight. Each other player reveals an X-Men hero gains a wound. This will focus. Next one is each other player investigates their deck for a card that has an attack icon and KOs it. Players reveal all cards that are investigated. That sucks. Each other player puts a random bystander from the victory pile onto a hero in the HQ as a hidden witness. And then fight, investigate the hero deck for an X-Men hero put into your discard pile. So that's not too bad, but it's just, again, he can get out of hand really quickly, and you're wasting recruit to lower his attack to fight him. Now these, let's see, here's the next one, and I've never beaten this guy advanced solos. Macho Gomez. He's found the Deadpool set. He's 9 attack. He has revenge for Deadpool's friends, quote unquote. So that's his villain group. So that means that he gets +1 attack for each one of those in your victory pile. So it's, I believe that ability only is relevant to the player's turns victory pile. I know it is. I believe it's that way for the villains. I think it's that way for him as well. But in Advanced Solo, they're all your victory pile, so it's all about you. So that's what makes that difficult. So he's going to be, if you're killing his villains, and then the thing is, you basically, whatever villain group you use, he's going to get revenge for that, because that's the villain group you have to, you're using what was considered his always leads in Advanced Solo, it's whatever one you're playing with. So for each villain you kill, he's going to increase attack. And then we have his Master Strike, and this is what makes him incredibly difficult. Put the strike in front of you as a bounty on your head. Then each player gains a wound for each bounty on them. Any number of times during your turn, you can pay 1 to move a bounty from you to the player on your left. Can't do anything about that part, but every strike you're going to gain a wound, then 2 wounds to 3 wounds before, and it's just a cascade of gaining wounds. And it's a huge pain in the ass. Very difficult to deal with. The first tactic here is each other player with at least 1 bounty on the head discards down to 4. So that's going to be automatically, you got to discard down to 4. The next one is each player rescue bystander for each bounty on your head on other players' heads. So you get stuff for that. That wouldn't be too bad. You get +1 for each bounty on your head on other players, so you get +1 on that one. And then this one's redistribute the bounty on your head cards among any number of players. So that really doesn't matter. But the other one's really, the first tactic was the biggest pain in the ass of all of them. Okay, and then finally, we have Vulture. And Vulture is, I feel like, deceptively hard. But I mean, I don't know. I've never, ever beaten him Advanced Solo. I've tried so many times. He's so hard. So he's got Striker. So he gets +1 for each Master Strike KO'd or next to him. So he'll be up to 13. But his Master Strikes are where it really gets you, is put a wound from the wound stack below each HQ space as a winged assault. Whenever a player gains or KOs a hero from the HQ, the player on your right gains one of those wounds below the HQ space. So anytime you want to recruit a hero, then you're going to gain that wound because you're the player on the right to yourself. So you're gaining a wound, and he's putting a wound on each one. Like, that is so difficult. And you just end up with like a half your deck being wounds. Now, I've never played with Macho Gomez or him. I've never used like cards like Hulk or anything that's like Maybe Scar, like Wounded Fury, maybe come into effect, and maybe that'll be beneficial. I've never done that, so maybe I should try that sometime, but it's very hard outside of those specific like ways to cheese the ability. He's on Epic side as well, so he's Striker, and then he's 10 attack instead, and then you put the wound, and then anytime a player gains a wound from a hero, put a wound from the wound stack or KO pile below each HQ space as a winged assault. Whenever a player gains or KOs a hero from the HQ, the player on their right gains the wounds below the HQ applies, putting it on top of their deck. So that's even worse because you have to get it immediately. That's crazy. I never do that. And then finally, we've got the tactics here. So we have the first one being, and this is from the Spider-Man Homecoming set. So we have, if I can get this to focus here, put 2 winged assault wounds from under the HQ to each other player's discard pile. So that's going to be you getting 2 wounds. You get +5 usable to recruit only tech heroes, so that's pretty good. Fight Danger Sense 2. If the rooftops are empty, a villain you revealed enters the rooftops. So you can get 2 extra attack off that, and then you may force the villain to come out, which is hard for advanced solo because then you're reducing the villain count in the deck, which buys you a turn of at least not being screwed over by a Master Strike or Scheme Twist. And then the last tactic is each other player discards a Spider Hero or discards 2 cards. So anything that makes you discard kind of sucks. And Spider Heroes, yeah, that's just rough. So that's my top 10 list. I don't have, like, I excluded, you know, Poison Thanos or Ultron because I haven't really played with them. In fact, I've never fought Poison Thanos just by himself, so it's something I need to do and see how he is. I've only fought Ultron a few handful of times. So, like, because I know Ultron's very difficult. But I haven't fought him enough to feel like definitively say he's in this top 10 list. I'll move the camera so you can kind of see. I'm pretty sure what I said about Faithful Resurrection on her is correct, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. So that's my top 10 list of, I think, the hardest villains, masterminds to fight advanced solo. Let me know what you guys think about that list. Let me know what you guys think are the hardest. I know pretty much, I can say without a doubt, these top 5 for sure should be in everybody's list. Maybe Onslaught, maybe not, but I know that these 4 should be in everybody's list at least. Any other characters that you think are harder? Any of you guys think are easy? You know, maybe I'm not playing them right. Any other kind of top 10 lists you guys want to see, or any kind of, not necessarily top 10, but any kind of list you want to see, let me know in the comments below. Monday, I'll get out Galactus with Crush Him with my bare hands. I'm going to beat that scheme, so we're going to do that Monday. And then later in the week, I'm going to try to do a villains playthrough for you guys. So I'll see you guys on Monday, and I thank you guys for watching. And like I said, I'll see you guys Monday.